welcome to this episode of the Corporate Escapists TV show and podcast. I am your host, Christina. I am delighted to have the very beautiful Carol Mae joining me from all around the other side of the world. Welcome, beautiful.
Hi, thank you, Christine. Great to be here.
I am really excited about today's conversation. We've got so much in alignment of what we do, and yeah, I'm really excited for what we're going to be able to bring today and just really
Mm,
ignite some conversation for people as well. Before I get carried away, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our listeners.
sure. My name's Carol Mae Whittick. I'm a creativity and spiritual life coach, podcaster, speaker, and author as well, and writer. And I've just been bringing creativity and spirituality, especially to women in that phase of their life where they really want to see what it is that they can bring to the world and show them that everyone has creativity within them and how interlinked and totally connected it is with their spirituality.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think once we hit a certain age, and mine was actually just around the 40s, that
Mm.
so many life turns happened. But also too, I think it's sort of that time that we start questioning what's next in life.
Most definitely, yeah. And interestingly, even though the bulk of my clients are 40 plus, I've actually started mentoring a few young ladies in their late teens and early 20s as well, almost in a kind of doing like what I wished I'd had at those points of
Yeah.
times as well, and seeing how really stressed out they can get about their entire life at that point in time and feel that they should always have it figured out, and just saying like just go with what you feel is right for you now and don't really feel pressured. And I know when you're younger you feel all of these pressures to do certain things, which is why if you kind of take on external pressures and external direction to do things, that's why
Mhm.
many of us will kind of wake up in our 40s and 50s and go, what's happened to my life? So I'm trying to get them to see that actually taking your time and doing it in your own way at that age, you're not missing out with anything. You're probably going to save yourself a lot of stress down the line by, really feeling into and getting to know who you are earlier on rather than waiting until later.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you find that it's like with those types of conversations? Because for me, like when I remember back then, I had to do everything right there and then. Because
Mm,
like thinking about like hitting my 40s, that was actually scary. I was thinking, oh, that's really old. But now that I'm in my
yes.
40s, I'm like going, oh my God, I've still got more time, like so much time left to do,
Mm.
all the amazing things I want to do.
Yeah, and also I think there's a added pressure as well now, because when I was in my teens and 20s, it was just a few TV stations and some magazines, so I could always put the influence down and get on with life. Whereas now they are walking around with the constant messaging in their hands
Mhm.
24/7, and we're all like unnaturally addicted to our devices no matter what we try to do. So that messaging's coming not just from their immediate peer group, but from all around the world. And it feels like they should be doing, and time's running out for them. But I always try and say that first decade between 20 and 30 is the first decade basically that you're figuring things out. So you'll never know exactly who you are, what you want to do, and just spend those times enjoying yourself, but also trying to figure out what it is that you really want. And don't worry about what everyone else is doing, which is hard because the first big birthday is that 3-0 and you think it's all over and downhill from there. But trust and believe, it absolutely is not. To enjoy it, and also to find women who are in their 30s and 40s and 50s and above you, and have real conversations with them to give you some perspective, because then you'll relax a little bit more, because I gain just as much speaking to those younger mentees than I do to just speaking to the people in my age. So I think it's really important that we maintain connection with women of all ages, and find the commonality and guide each other on both ways. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's definitely like a positive side though now. with
Mm,
technology because we've got access to like the different age groups, the different, nationalities, like all these different things that we've got
mm,
access to. Whereas like back in like I didn't even have the internet growing up. So, like we
yeah,
didn't have access to any of this sort of, information, like you're saying,
yeah.
right in the palm of our hands. It's, I
Mhm.
guess, the choice of what information to consume.
Yeah, and I think also as well when you're looking at, and this is a message to all of us, myself included,
Mm,
is when you're looking at who's influencing where your mind is going, don't just kind of take on board that one message that they're giving you. Maybe see what they really stand for, see what they're actually really doing in their life, because you can kind of get caught into one message and not really
mm.
take on board, is that person really living their life the way that this soundbite or this 10-second reel would have me believe. There's way more to it than that. We want to really find out how authentic someone is being with themselves as well as the audience that they're being as well, that they're reaching out to as well.
Yeah, I love that so much because I think like the more things that I went through, and I always call them moments in life because there's only one thing that's infinite, and that is unfortunately death. But like
Mm,
everything happens, and they're just moments in life, and they can seem so drastic. But when we can look from the other side, and I think sometimes we're not actually appreciating those moments, we want to rush through it instead of
mm.
feel and learn through them as well.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, if I think about the big things that I did in my life, and if I was to give my own self some advice, it'd be like enjoy it. Enjoy the moment that you're going
Mm,
through and appreciate the steps that you're taking. And I know it's not easy, but really stand up for what you believe despite the naysayers that you're going to hear,
yeah.
because especially if you're doing something that's very different from your own peer group, you're going to find that, there'll be a bit of resistance a lot of the time, just because everyone wants to keep the band and the group together. So it's not always from a negative point of view, it's just from a safety point of view. But the world is better when we can be more individual and really discover who it is that we are and bring those unique parts of ourselves to the world. That's what makes it so interesting.
Mm. I've been having a lot of conversations lately about we need to give ourselves some grace because I think that especially earlier on, like, oh my God, we make a mistake and we actually think that that's the end, like that's going to last forever. Whereas that mistake, that learning lesson is obviously the blessing of like helping us choose the right course for our life as well. But we've never learnt to be able to give ourselves grace during those moments where things may not go according to our own plan.
Yeah, and also as well, especially if you're on an entrepreneurial journey, is those mistakes are just a way of steering you back onto your course.
Mm,
So not to spend too much time, not to spend too much time like going over and thinking over how bad that situation was. And when I think about the mistakes that I've made in my life, also how I learned from them. If I, one of the analogies I like to use with clients is when I was learning the piano as a child, many, were doing a lot of practicing, but because you learn in such a systematic way, you learn very basic, simple chords to start with. But as you go on in your journey, you realize that in between the notes that you're told to play are the notes that you don't necessarily get told to play initially, that are the ones that give you more flavor. So when
mm,
I was figuring out playing the right notes and my fingers were touching all the notes in between that were supposedly the wrong notes, I was actually happening on like way more advanced parts of music theory than I did. And I used to have to write them down in a really bizarre way because I didn't know what I'd come across. And not until I kind of understood the theory of it later on
mm.
that I realized that I actually come across something. So sometimes that mistake might actually be showing you steps ahead of yourself as well. And maybe if the mistake feels good, explore it, or if it doesn't feel good, just let it lie down and move on to something else. There's always something beautiful to be found in our errors and our failures and our mistakes.
Oh, I love that analogy. Like so much because I think so many times that it's like going into an ice cream store. Like you can almost say like chocolate, strawberry, vanilla, but if you don't
Mhm.
try other flavors, how do you know what you like and what you don't like? And
Yeah.
I think that's really what life is about, is just trying different things to learn more about yourself and
Mm.
get to know yourself even more.
Got it. Yeah. And anything that you think like you say, anything that you don't know is
Yeah.
it's worth at least just kind of trying it once. So at least you can say with confidence and knowledge that something's not for you, instead of just rejecting things out of
Yeah.
ignorance, really. You just don't know what you're going to find there, or who you're going to find there if you step into these unknown spaces.
Yeah. Is there a common thread that you see with obviously coaching clients, in their 20s and coaching clients in their 40s?
I think there's within us all, there's a desire to do something to get it
Yeah.
right. And what that means is very unique, really. And the thing that I can only ever portray is what feels right, what feels like play. What do you think that you could spend
Mm,
time just going down the rabbit hole of your own curiosity? And once you kind of get out of the your own head of believing that it has to be a certain way and it has to happen in a certain time, you'll be all right. And just enjoy the fun of it, really. Stay
mm,
curious and stay true to yourself, and also notice when your body or your senses or your gut is just giving you that kind of, I don't think this is right. Don't hang around too long. Your
mm,
gut will tell you pretty much straight away that you're in the wrong space. And I've learned from my own example of just
yeah.
don't stay around too long where you don't
Yeah.
belong.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you find that like I mean, I talk a lot about like trusting your gut, but I think as you get older, sometimes that gets pushed down a little bit because you're sort of trying to listen to so much information, and
Mm,
the information is overloaded by you actually trusting your own natural instincts.
mm. I mean, like, for me, it was just a process of realizing that all the times that I did trust my gut, or all the times that I was given guidance and didn't trust my gut, the gut was always right, or that
Yeah,
feeling was always right. And then after a few times, you're like, do you know what? I'm just going to go with it,
yeah,
even when I feel like I'm the lone voice here, even when everything looks completely different, and I
mm,
might, connect with someone and just go, we're not right together, or there's
yeah,
something that I think I should do and it's not coming up for me. And then there's this something that just comes out of the blue, and you think go for it, and there's no proof of anything. Is
yeah.
just go for that feeling, because it will save you a lot of time, it will save you a lot of money sometimes as well, if you just trust those things. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What's one of the biggest discoveries that you've had about yourself? Obviously, you've been an entrepreneur.
um is that I think that my endless curiosity has never done me down. It's, if I kind of look back on the thing that has always moved me forward, is it's about being curious about
Mm,
where it can take me. And also, to for me as well, and continuing on, is always in competition with myself. It's like, how much better can I make this? How much better can I make myself? How much further can I go? And
yeah.
just kind of staying in the circle of, I'm doing this to create something that's going to be a credit to my own legacy, and stay away from comparison. That's probably the biggest gift that I can give anyone. And once I got out of comparison, I realized that I could really go forward.
Mm. It's interesting the word comparison because I think, we've grown up like, looking at magazines or looking at, just people on TV, and it's almost like a natural instinct that we have
Mm,
within oneself. What advice would you actually say to somebody when they sort of can start seeing that they're comparing themselves to others? Because as you said, we are so beautifully unique.
mhm, mhm.
We all have something unique to give to this world.
Yeah, I think now the times that we're moving in are times where we're really noticing what's real and what's not real, because I
Mm,
think there's a real push from within us all to find the reality. and
Yeah.
realizing that the things that we see on TV, the things that we see on social media are a snapshot that have been, photoshopped and AI'd and beautified. And
Yeah.
that's not the case. And the people oftentimes that we've held in higher esteem than our own selves are human, just
Mm,
as human as we are. So stop looking outside of yourself for the picture perfect idea of what
yeah.
things should look like, because ultimately they never really represent the truth. So the more that we can just realize that we're seeing a version of events that are a fantasy version of events, and stop comparing yourself to somebody else's a reel, they don't show you all the stuff that they had to discard to put that one post out there. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't sweat it too much, like realize that everyone's putting their best out there, and that's not
Yeah.
always real life.
Yeah, absolutely. I had to do a TikTok video for a client, and like the amount of retakes that I had to do with it, like it was like I was like questioning myself, like going, oh my goodness, could I do it? But it
Mm,
just shows you that the end product takes so much work, and I think we
mm,
don't appreciate the work that it takes. Do you know what I mean? To have, and you are like the end product, you are the end result of it, and we
mm,
need to appreciate the journey and the work that we put into it as well.
mm. Yeah, and appreciate other people's work, and say,
Yeah.
okay, amazing, they're putting out something that's great there, but understand the game that we're in when we're putting things out there. It's not real. We're just kind of creating an ideal
Yeah.
of ourselves, and don't compare yourself to the ideal. Like you say, you don't know how many takes and how many hours somebody spent editing just to get that perfect 20 seconds
Mm,
out there that you're beating yourself up over because your life doesn't look like that. So I won't
yeah.
worry so much about those things. Yeah.
I absolutely love what you're doing. I think it's so needed. How can people work with you?
The best way is to go to my website. It's carolmaewhittick.com, CarolMaewhittick.com, and just see what I'm doing there as well. What I'm doing as well every month is a monthly creative confidence masterclass. It's free to join. And it's just a collection of women from all over the world. And each month I'll just help us work on something within our creativity and spirituality to build that confidence within yourself when it comes to your creativity, so that you can use it in every aspect of your life. So it's not just about the arts, it's bringing that creative and spiritual power into whatever area of your life that you want to use it in.
Amazing. And we're going to drop all the links below how people can reach out to you and follow you. Because I honestly think that these are the conversations that everybody needs to have, regardless of
Mm,
age. Because I think we've all got untapped potential within ourselves.
100%, yes.
Yeah. Before you go, we love to ask just five, quick fire questions to our clients, just so that we get to know you just a little bit better on a personal level.
Sure.
So this might actually be relevant for you, this first question, because I know it's morning time over your way.
Yeah.
Are you a tea or a coffee person in the morning?
um It depends on the day. I mean, this morning actually I'm drinking hot water and lemon, so that's
Yeah,
kind of my like go-to.
yeah,
And then I might have a green tea and maybe I'll have a coffee. So
yeah,
kind of tea-ish, I think.
yeah. I love it. I love it so much. And if you've got some spare time, do you prefer to curl up and watch a movie or read a book?
Hmm, good thing. Reading a book is nice. I'm not doing enough of that as
Yeah.
well. It's nice to, every time I get a book in my hand, I'm like, gosh, isn't paper nice? So
Yeah,
book.
yeah. I'm a tactile person. I love the feel and yeah of it.
Yeah.
There's a Carrie Bradshaw moment in Sex and the City, and she smells the books. I'm like, that's me. So
Mm.
yeah, I love it. If you could travel to your dream destination, would you prefer to travel by boat or by plane?
Wow. I'm gonna say boat because I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing. And you're going to have a dinner party, and you're allowed to invite one special guest, and that special guest can either be from the past or from the present. Who would it be?
Hmm. That's very interesting. Oh, there's so many people that I'm fascinated by. I think I would be interested in meeting, maybe I've always been very curious about Josephine Baker. She
Oh,
was yeah, she was an American dancer who went to France in the early 20s as well. So she was and she lived a very interesting life out there. She was an entertainer, and she got involved in as people do, as they kind of move up the ranks, getting involved in she adopted a load of children. And I'd just really like to know what her story was like, because I kind of like that 20s era as well. So maybe
Yeah.
her. Yeah,
Oh, that's amazing. And if you could describe yourself in one word, what would it be?
I'd say curious.
Yeah.
Definitely curious. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I think you would be a detective maybe in a past life for some reason. Like that's coming through for me. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Oh, well, I absolutely love what you're doing. Like I think these conversations are so needed in the world. As I said, we're going to drop all the links, Carol May, so that everyone can go ahead and reach out to you and follow you. So
Okay,
thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing your gifts with us.
I appreciate it, Christine. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. And for everyone who is watching this episode, if you have liked it, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, put all your comments below, and remember to live life to the fullest every single day. Love and light to you all.